From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, we behaved ourselves enough in the first week to stick around for another week in our new state here of Pennsylvania. Welcome to Beat the Champs' second week here in Bradford, PA, with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky and Hall of Fame bowler and guest scorekeeper Sue Jeziorski. I'm Paul Peck. We had a great start with some terrific bowling in week one. What did we learn about Byllye Lanes in week one?
Well, first of all, we learned that it's very interesting to come to a new house and have new things to talk about, different characteristics of lanes. And these lanes held up very well. They're very well scoring. And the adjustments have been really normal. Like, we haven't seen anything super challenging come up yet. And I think this is just a great people. Interesting interviews. I mean, it's just interesting to be someplace else. Good.
Brandon Miller is our returning champion. He's an area guy. Shawn Mosier's an area guy. And our two other bowlers this week, Andy Rettig and Rob Piccoli, familiar names to our viewers, and Buffalo guys.
Right. It was nice to see the support from Buffalo come up here, and or down here to Bradford. And, these bowlers won't know each other that well, so it's just going to be strictly about them and the lanes.
Right. What did you learn about this place in the bowling here, Sue, from your vantage point next to the scoreboard?
Probably the same that Sue said. The players didn't have to move around a lot, change balls too often, so the lanes held up really well. So they do a good job manicuring the lanes. It's great.
Well, let's see what happens. Week 2 here at Byllye Lanes in Bradford. Let's get rolling.
I'm here with our champ, Brandon Miller, who put on a great show last week, throwing those last 3 strikes to win that match, putting you ahead of your son. He had the bragging rights, and now you kind of got them back a little bit. He's here watching, though. Is this fun for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, both my boys are here, so it's enjoyable.
It's kind of special bowling in front of family, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they both bowl, so, I mean, to be able to get up there and do it and let them watch, and hopefully they'll be up there, too, so.
Well, you put on a great performance last week, and I can only hope to see more of the same. And you did everything right, and I can just say keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
All right. We welcome to Bradford Andy Rettig, someone that we've been regularly seeing on the show, which has been great. You've put on great performances for us. But I hear there's a little shout out for one of our biggest fans that you want to talk about.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say hi to Dad. He couldn't make it today. Just been a great bowler for years and always supports me, and I really appreciate it. And I know he's out there watching today or when it airs, and want to see if we can have some fun and put on a show for him.
Well, and he's going to put a little show on for us, I think, because we have a little video of him shooting 300 that we're going to put on here, and that was one of his last 300s, right?
That was his last 300, and yeah, he throws the ball great, and even did it at age 68. He threw that last 300, so.
Wow, well that's awesome, and you're following with the legacy very, very well. Very impressive with your performances here.
Oh, thanks. Just trying to make him proud.
All right, well, good luck to you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
It's Miller versus Rettig in our first match of week 2 here at Byllye Lanes in Bradford, PA, and Andy Rettig is a familiar face here on Beat the Champ. He is making his 12th appearance on the show. 10 wins, 7 losses, one of just 9 Beat the Champ bowlers to have double figures in wins. And we saw him last month at Island Lanes, where he won a couple and then wound up losing to Jeremy Zimmerman. But Andy right back here qualifying and part of our show from Bradford. And here we go. A nice little late slide on the 7 gives Andy Rettig a strike to start things out. And now we get a look at Brandon Miller, our returning champion, coming off the win over Stephanie Tompkins a week ago. This is the 3rd appearance for Brandon Miller on the show, 2 wins and 1 loss. We saw him previously at the Jamestown Bowling Company earlier in the year. And we're off to a great start. We want to welcome in special guest, and we certainly thank the University of Pittsburgh Bradford here in the area for being a sponsor of our trip down here to Byllye Lanes in Bradford. And we welcome in instructor of exercise science, Professor Zach Stark. Zach, thanks for being a part of our show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has been a fun trip down here for us, and maybe an area that a lot of people aren't familiar with or have driven through but never bothered to think about what's down here. Not far from Salamanca, not far from Allegheny and Olean, kind of stuck right in the middle, aren't we?
Yes, if you're not really a huge fan of the outdoors, then you're not too familiar with the Bradford area.
Right, so that's what makes this place special, right?
Very much so. Just all the things that it has to offer as far as nature and the things you can do out there, hiking, a lot of reservoirs, state parks are close by, so a lot of activities for outdoor enthusiasts.
So you grew up here, so you've been part of that culture and world all your life, right?
Yes, I was born and raised, and so that's one of the aspects that I really like about the area.
We had 2 strikes from Brandon Miller to start things off. Here's Andy Rettig in frame number 2. And we are striking all the way around. Give everybody a little feel for what it's like to be an instructor at Pitt Bradford, what the students are like, what the campus is like, what the sort of the feel for being down here is like.
So it's similar to the Bradford is a small town, so it's a smaller campus, so you really get to know everybody. That personal interaction really helps for the classroom, just working with each student as an individual and then really being able to help them meet their goals of where they're wanting to go for their future. So the benefits of a small town, it goes right into the benefits of a small campus.
How much do you enjoy being a professor in that setting?
Well, one, I really enjoy exercise science, so anytime I get to help others learn about that, that's really enjoyable. But then, like you said, teaching at a small campus, the personal interaction, very beneficial. I like that part of it rather than a class of 700 students or something.
Gotcha, gotcha. At Beat the Champ TV is our Twitter feed, hashtag Beat the Champ. Of course, you can like us on the Beat the Champ Facebook page for all of the information that you need to know on upcoming tournaments and qualifying and taping schedules. All right, a little difficult challenge here for Andy Rettig in frame 3.
Yeah, that ball snapped up a little high on him and left a very difficult spare.
So Andy will get 2, but it'll be an open in the 3rd frame, and Brandon Miller off 2 strikes moves on to frame number 3 himself. So Zach, tell everybody a little bit about what exercise science is as a major and how you go about teaching the students what they need to know.
So exercise science, it's one of those undergrad programs that opens a lot of doors for a student. We have students that are going physical therapy route to wellness coordinators to strength coaches, so a wide range that you can kind of do with that undergrad in exercise science. Along with that, which is so beneficial of having that many doors open, also means that we have to make sure they have a lot of different skills. So really making the education hands-on, allowing for them to enhance those sort of skills that's going to prepare them for their futures.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Have you been a part of this program since it started?
I have not. I actually used to be a health and phys ed teacher at the local high school, and went back, got my master's degree, and so it's my 3rd year out at Pitt.
Oh, how interesting is that? So the classes you teach, do they lean towards health and phys ed, or have you had to broaden your
So I got my master's in exercise science because I've always really enjoyed that aspect. So this allows me to, teaching classes directly related to that.
Well, tricky ring 10 there for Brandon Miller in the 5th frame. What are some of the opportunities that are presented to exercise science majors at Pitt Bradford to get real world experience? Tell everybody a little bit about that.
So some of it is just getting out and seeing some of the different areas in the community. So I have students that go and will do observation hours at a local cardiac rehab facility, Upbeat. They're able to see what it's like, the actual job setting. This fall, I took a group of students down to KOA Electronics, and we did fitness evaluations on some of the employees down there, so they got to be out in the community, actually putting some of those skills that they learned into the real world. Pretty cool.
Difficult 2nd open frame there in the 5th for Brandon Miller. Just barely missed that pin.
Yeah, those spares are real important, especially with Andy striking the way that he is.
Let's see if Brandon can bounce back. He can, so it's a somewhat unique scorecard through the first 6 frames for Brandon, which is 4 strikes and 2 opens.
You know, for as long as we've been doing this, we've always seen one lane change a little bit more than the other, and it's already been 20. That's the one that's been hooking more, which changes how they approach the lane and their angle of entry, and it's proven to be a little tricky for Brandon, where Andy hasn't. It's the same for Andy because both sides are the same for him. We haven't seen a left-hander yet, so he's going to have a little more consistency.
Another strike. That's his 5th for the 47-year-old from Hamburg, employed by the Department of Homeland Security, Andy Rettig. So, Zach, as you watch these 2 bowlers, anything that you can break down of the dynamics of the science of what it takes a human body to be a good bowler?
So with my degrees in exercise science, it's impressive that they can do this, because I just go up there and throw as hard as I can and as straight as I can. So the fact that they have the mechanics to be able to put that spin and the English on the ball to be able to do this consistently is definitely impressive.
I know, and Sue will get, mad at me when I even bring up the fact that some people aren't sure whether bowlers are athletes or not. And I know that's a ridiculous thing to say, because they clearly are, because I know from your area of expertise, you can see, it's recreating the movement, it's adjusting, it's stamina, it's all the things that make any other athlete great.
Well,
both of you guys can talk about that.
The important thing in bowling is your legs. That even though it looks like you're using your upper body and not your lower body, your ball speed is generated from your lower body. Staying down at the line is really important to making consistent shots, and in order to do that on a regular basis, you have to have your lower body strength to keep, to hold yourself up. You're balancing yourself on one leg at the end with a 16-pound weight on your right-hand side. So we definitely know that there's athletic factors that go into this, and so obviously you can see that looking at it. So when you're approaching, so in your field, would you look at something like this and exercise someone more in their lower body if they wanted to be better at this, or?
Definitely. I mean, you hit on many points there, but just the fine-tuned skill that's involved in this sport, kind of similar to golf. Another one. It's not speed. It's not all these things we typically think of athleticism, but just the skill that's involved and how you need to be able to repeat that skill. So a lot of the biomechanics you would see here with the technique involved, and then, like you said, the leg strength, the core strength, all that comes involved.
Because I think bowlers just go out and do this sport. I don't think that they really think about, maybe focusing on a certain part of your body, or if you went to the gym. I don't know that it's really thought about how important that the lower body strength is.
Don't forget, if you're interested in being a part of our show, next month we're at Brad Angelo Lanes in Lockport. Top qualifier in the round of 24 up in Lockport wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. Well, boy, both of these guys are rolling. Andy forced 6 straight strikes. Brandon's got 3 in a row. After those little hiccups, really make it 4 in a row. So, boy, other than a couple of frames where things kind of came off the rails, these guys are killing it right now. Hey, Zach, give everybody an idea if they're watching back in Buffalo and they have someone. I mean, there's so much interest in the health-related fields now. How can they find out more information about your program and Pitt Bradford as a whole?
So one of the best ways is going to the Pitt Bradford website, and then from there you can see, in not just our area, but all the majors and minors are listed on that program, and you can go in and read more about it. Also has our email addresses, so you can email professors in that area to find out more. The admissions program is great there. You can always contact them, set up a tour of the campus to see if that is a right fit for you. So that website is a real good place to start as far as getting information.
I think you need to take your class on a field trip here to Byllye Lanes and do a little instant analysis of the science of bowling. How about that?
That sounds like a good idea.
Right. Hey, Zach, thanks for the time. Zach Stark is a professor of exercise science here at Pitt Bradford, and we thank him for a couple minutes of his time explaining what he does, and we thank the folks at Pitt Bradford being a part of our trip down here to Bradford, Pennsylvania. There's the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, and it is showing a victory for Andy Rettig. Boy, Brandon Miller put up a good fight here, but just those two open frames kind of doomed him. And Andy Rettig is such a good bowler. He is going to take advantage. He does. And it will be Andy moving on to our next match up against Rocket Rob Piccoli. We'll talk to Brandon, get you ready for that match when we return to Byllye Lanes in Bradford. This is Beat the Champ. Well, it was an impressive 265 to 212 win for Andy Rettig. Brandon, I think you had strikes the whole way except for those two opens earlier. That put you behind the 8 ball, didn't it?
Got to pick your spares.
Yeah, I mean, it's anything particularly happen on those two frames?
20 just broke down. It's getting the carry over on 20. That's what got me the last week. I got a big break with her opening up, but 20 was a breakdown.
All right, well, it's good to have you back on the show. Jackie Geiger, one of the our co-manager and co-owner here at Byllye Lanes.
Thanks.
You know, got something to make you feel a little bit better. So we've got match number 2, Andy Rettig and Rocket Rob Piccoli, coming up next on Beat the Champ.
I'm here with Rocket Rob Piccoli, another kind of regular here on the show, made the trip to Bradford, made the show. Was that your first time bowling here?
Yes, it is, and I like to hear is compared to some of the places in Buffalo, it was a little slicker on the outside, so I had to move inside and kind of play that line, and it carried well during qualifying.
How does your ball speed play into that? Because we call you Rocket Rob for a reason, so that has something to do with your ball speed. How does that play into your choices?
I was definitely slower. Probably instead of like 18, I was like 17 and a half or 17. So. Okay,
well, we're going to watch that. So you're a semi-Rocket Rob. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. And now that we're in our second week, lanes have broken down a little bit, so that might be a good spot for you to pop in, right?
Correct. Yes.
All right. Yeah. So we'll watch that and we'll talk about it while you bowl. And good luck to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's Rettig versus Piccoli, match number 2 here, week number 2 at Byllye Lanes in Bradford, Pennsylvania, and Rocket Rob Piccoli is a guy we have seen on our show a number of times. He must have been on a number of times. They have his own nickname already, so, but it's great. We love watching Rob. This is his 5th appearance on the show, 1 win and 4 losses. We saw him earlier in the summer in August up at the Rapids Bowling Center, where he lost to Mike Zarcone, and certainly it's a big group of people that can say they've bowled on this show and lost to Mike Zarcone. So, and of course, we always like watching the speed gun with Rocket Rob here, because he's going to dazzle us a little bit with his miles per hour. Unless there's there's something here in Pennsylvania about speed limits on the bowling balls that you and I don't know about. So
no.
Here's Andy Rettig coming off his win over Brandon Miller. In that match, Andy Rettig had 1 open, strikes the rest of the way for a 265.
Yeah, Andy is very smooth, almost like what you'd call a stroker. He's just so smooth the line. Talking about ball speed, he comes in at under 15, so in his case, he's given the ball more time to work. Rob, a little faster, even backing it down off 20, still, 18 is pretty hard in comparison, and his ball is going to go more down the lane. It isn't going to work as hard.
You got a glimpse at our guest here for this match. He is Paul Geiger. He is the owner here of Byllye Lanes, along with Central Lanes in Salamanca. And we welcome Paul for coming in for a couple of minutes. And once again, we've had a great time down here, and we're glad that you've given us the opportunity to come down here and meet some of the fine folks at Bradford, Pennsylvania. And not to toot our own horn, but this is kind of an event down here, right? It feels that way.
It is. It's been very, very good and very well received by the public. We had a lot of fans that came out just to watch today, so good day.
And Rob Piccoli with strikes in the first 2. Paul, I know one of the things that you want to talk a little bit about And before we get to that in a moment, I do want to mention that being down here gives us the opportunity to have one of our biggest Beat the Champ fans in attendance. And there she is. Marge Adams is here. Smile for the cameras, Marge. There she is. She's from Turtle Point outside of Smethport, Pennsylvania. And she is just about one of our biggest Beat the Champ fans, watches us all the time. And boy, you talk about, boy, we made Marge's weekend just she got to come and see us in person, right?
That's...
Oh, yeah, see, you can hear her. So we're glad we had a chance to finally meet Marge, and we thank her and all of our loyal Beat the Champ fans. But I know, Paul, you wanted to talk a little bit about some big tournaments that you have coming up, both here and in Salamanca.
Yeah, we have a couple tournaments. The first one will be, it's a team tournament, 5 on a team. These are all scratch events, both tournaments. The 5-man tournament that we have is coming up on January 26th. It'll start at 4 p.m. It's $375 per team and $4,000 to win. And it's not your typical house condition. That'll be a sport pattern. It'll be a little difficult. And also there's an optional singles event that is $700 to win. So we usually get a pretty good contingent from Buffalo and down Pittsburgh that way. Last year I think we had 22 teams, so it's a very good event.
So you do one squad?
One squad, yeah. Brackets, there's a ton of brackets. Everybody always likes the action.
Everybody likes brackets.
They like the action.
Yep, you drop those kind of prize monies on there, and you'll get people
Absolutely.
from Buffalo hopping in their car and racing their way
Yep.
down here for that.
And in conjunction with that, we have a singles scratch tournament in Salamanca on Sunday. There is one squad at 1 o'clock, right? No, I'm sorry, at noon on Saturday. That way, if you're coming here to bowl at 4, you can stop there and try to qualify, and then come Sunday and to that event. That's $1,300 to win, and that'll be on the 26th. Like I said, one shift, and then the 27th. Then we do our roll-off. That's a good tournament too. Same thing. We don't put. It's not a house shot. You're going to be bowling on something that's a little difficult and make you earn your money.
So as we watch our bowlers here, Andy Rettig has 3 strikes and 1 spare in the first 4 frames. Rocket Rob Piccoli with 3 strikes, perfect through the first 3 frames for him. There's Sue Jeziorski manning the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard for the week. Well, Janelle Sabin works hard. We need to give her a couple of weeks off here.
Sue said the same thing. She goes, "This is a lot more strenuous than it looks. You know, it's a lot of smiling."
Absolutely, that's right. It's those jaw muscles. Again, we should have asked Zach Stark about the exercise science behind the jaw muscles there. So Rob's first non-strike frame means he'll go for the spare. Hey, Paul, how much do you get a lot of bowlers that bowl in both places, Salamanca and here? I mean, we're only 20 minutes apart based on the 2.
Yeah, there's a few that come from Bradford there that'll bowl in Salamanca, and there's more people that bowl in Salamanca that bowl here than vice versa. It's Salamanca's wood, it's synthetic here, so it's always going to be different. So you're going to learn something either way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly, because that's it's good experience both ways because
Exactly.
they break down different. You're going to need different equipment necessarily. And yeah, your moves will be different on
Yes.
a wood lane than on a synthetic lane. So
Absolutely.
more well-rounded to be able to know how to handle both.
Rob Piccoli is 33 years old. He's from Kenmore, New York. He is a produce manager at Tops Markets. Been bowling since he's about 10 years old with a 226 average.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Skid roll hook. So through the front lane you want the ball to skid, but you don't want it to continue to skid through the mid lane. You want it to start rolling at that point, and then it's going to pick up its hook. So you want to balance that out, and sometimes you have to do that with ball speed or equipment, I should say.
Equipment's probably the biggest thing.
Andy Rettig in the 7th frame.
And he made a move off.
Pin to go down.
He just made a move off of the 6-pin, and unfortunately that's the result.
Don't forget, we've got qualifying going on right now for next month's series of shows up in Lockport at Brad Angelo Lanes. And the top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television valued at $500 from our friends at Dirt Cheap TV. Andy's a familiar face on this show, and we've talked about this before, but he is a part of a bowling family that gives all the credit to his dad, who got him and his brothers into the sport, and his dad got in because his grandfather bowled. And Andy mentioned that his dad had a second 300 at age 68 a couple of years ago, and now Andy is passing that down as his daughter Madison bowls for the Buffalo Seminary bowling team. So it's just one of those cool stories about how this is such a family sport, Paul.
It is. I mean, what other can you do when you just take your family out and have a fun night for a few hours and enjoy yourself?
And like you said, those junior bowlers that we were watching the first week,
yes,
eventually their kids are going to be bowling in leagues, because once you start bowling, you pass it along.
Correct.
Big strike for Andy in the 8th frame. You could hear him say that's better, and he'd been a couple of frames, and been since the 4th that he'd had a strike. So
it's funny because our scorekeeper Sue here, she has now an 11-year-old daughter who she's got into bowling, and who's averaging 140, 150 now at 11 years old because her mom does it.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works.
Sometimes I would rather teach bowling than bowl. It's more rewarding sometimes when you see the product evolve, and and they love the sport, and they want to get better, and you so want to help them.
And you know what? At that level, it's easy to see improvement.
Absolutely.
Because once they start making spares, and then get stronger, get a little bit more roll on the ball, now the strikes. So it's easy to get those averages to move up if you've got them fundamentally correct.
Absolutely.
And we were kind of talking about the difference between guys and girls, and actually Rob here has they both have great fundamentals. These two that we have up here. You don't get the oddity of people that overpower it.
Right.
But like women in particular have excellent fundamentals because they don't necessarily have the strength that guys have.
That is a great point. You can just see it, and if it's somebody you can catch early, the younger the better. Then they're just going to improve as far as they get to the mechanics and everything else that goes along with it.
Great pin action you saw from Rob Piccoli on that 9th frame strike. And now Andy's probably going to have to strike out all the rest of the way here.
All Rob has to do, once Andy strikes out, all Rob really needs is decent pin count. He's not even going to have to mark. So all Andy can do here is throw them all.
Winner of this match takes on Shawn Mosier, making his debut. He's one of your guys from down here, right, Paul? Tell us about Shawn.
Shawn's another local guy that him and Jeremy are neck and neck every year for average. So yeah, you're gonna see some strikes there too. Shawn throws it. He can pipe it up there like the Rocket Man here, pretty good if he has to.
The Rocket Man, I like that.
That's right. So that'll be our next match versus the winner of this one between Andy Rettig and Rob Piccoli, and we look like we're headed towards a Rob Piccoli victory. But let's see what Andy can do to stop that.
We've seen stranger things happen, right?
So it's the 10th frame for Andy Rettig. He's got 1 strike. He's going to need 2 more here to put that kind of pressure on Rob Piccoli.
Right. Wow, big strike there.
Oh, lots of pins sliding all over there, aren't there?
Like I said, we've seen so much happen in this, in our years here in the booth.
Hey, Paul, give a quick mention. You said you got a couple big tournaments coming up. You can't do it by yourself. Give a little shout out to the guys that helped you with that.
I just want to thank Timmy Monturi, who's going to be bowling here later. He runs the Saturday tournament there, our 5-man scratch, and Timmy Hewlings, who bowls in the league here. He runs the Sunday one over in Salamanca. I just want to thank them guys because they do a great job.
All right, so it's a 234 posted on 5 consecutive strikes to end it for Andy Rettig. So now Rob Piccoli comes to the 10th frame, facing a challenge of needing to at least spare here in order to win.
Spare and count. 9 spare, 9 will give him 235.
Oh, and He got the
That's it.
strike that he needed. So it's
that's it.
Rob Piccoli that will come up with the win. A hard-fought, tough, right down to the end victory over Andy Rettig. Good match here, setting us up for another good one. Paul, thank you for joining us as always, and keep up the good work here at Byllye Lanes. We're here for a couple more weeks, and we'll check in with Paul again, but we're going to get you ready for that third match of the day when Sue and I return to Bradford, Pennsylvania. More of Beat the Champ right after this. Man, what a great match. 255 to 234 between Rob Piccoli and Andy Rettig. You bowled great except for that little sequence in the middle, and that was, 234, nothing wrong with that, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, just a couple shots in the middle, like you said, and Rob bowled fantastic, so not much I could do about it.
Right. Is this your first chance to get down here to Bradford to Byllye Lanes?
I bowled in their team event that they have every year, so I love the center, great bunch of guys, and I always have a lot of fun. I'll be back.
All right, well, good. Nobody likes to hear that better than our owner, Paul Geiger.
Absolutely. Andy, first-class guy, good bowling. Like you said, you did what you could, a little lapse there in the middle, but you bowled great, and hopefully this will ease the pain a little bit.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right, always good to see Andy Rettig on our show, but we're going to see Rob Piccoli and Shawn Mosier. It's our next match, and it is coming your way next.
I'm here with local bowler Shawn Mosier. Shawn, first opportunity for Beat the Champ to come to Bradford. What did you think when you heard that it was coming?
I've heard about it in the past, and I've never had the opportunity to do this, so I was pretty excited, and I'm glad to be here.
And you bowl league here as well?
I do Tuesday nights, sometimes Wednesday. I enjoy bowling. I've done it my whole life, so look forward to it.
Yeah, well, do you have a certain expectation as to what the lane's going to be like? Are you open to whatever happens out there?
Whatever happens, happens. Try to make small adjustments throughout the match, and hopefully I can carry some strikes.
Where do you get your bowling balls drilled?
Right here by Jeremy Kresley, nonetheless.
That's what I was leading into. So we'll see if your performance can match his performance or who's going to have bragging matches here. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
It's Piccoli versus Mosier, final match of week number 2 here at Byllye Lanes in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Rob Piccoli and Shawn Mosier, and these guys are both hard throwers and good bowlers, and this should be a fun match to see who advances to next week's show. Boy, that was a great match between Rob and Andy.
It really, truly was. And, throwing is so different. It just shows you that you don't have to throw it just one way to be successful, because ball speeds, right-handed, left-handed.
Well, I want to see the speed on that one. Oh, a little slower than I thought. I thought that was going to be an 18.5 or more. It was only a little over 17. Rob really is kind of pulling back on things a little bit here.
And look, he throws it beautifully. His ball is reading the lanes great, rolling up the way it's supposed to. That's a nice asset to have, to be able to throw it that hard if you need to.
You may have to change his nickname, though, like Jet Engine Piccoli, because there's not quite rocket speed here today. And there's our first look at Shawn Mosier from Kersey, Pennsylvania, 33 years old, an operations superintendent right here in Bradford at American Refining Group, and a long-time house bowler and an outstanding Byllye Lanes bowler.
Right, a couple nights a week here he bowls.
So that's the fun part about us bringing the show on the road here a little bit, is we get exposed to different bowlers from Western New York, and sometimes it's the guys who don't venture that far out from where they are or their favorite house, and that's fine, but it gives us a chance to put them on TV a little bit. So whether it was Kresley that we saw in the first match on the first show, or Mosier here, we're getting to look at some of the best of Byllye Lanes.
And maybe now they'll make the trip over, the hour-and-a-half trip to some of the other places that we bowl out. They get a taste of being on TV and, the whole atmosphere, because they're both very excited, both bowlers that we talked to from here. We're so excited about it coming here and having the opportunity to be on the show.
Yeah, we talk about all the Buffalo guys got to hop in their car and drive down here. Well, sometimes these guys might want to drive up. And,
That's right.
We got plenty to do up in Buffalo.
We do.
They can come up and bowl against our guys up there, too.
Oop. He knew he got that in.
Yeah, you got a little lucky.
Yeah.
Need those lucky breaks to win in this sport, don't you?
I love the fact that he admitted it too.
You knew it, huh?
Yeah. There's different schools of thought. Sometimes there's people out there that'll slap that shot out at you, and that hurts.
Yeah, I know. But it's good when you do get the lucky break. There's Sue Jeziorski manning the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, filling in for Janelle Sabin, doing a great job. We've got Hall of Famers everywhere around here.
Yeah, she's analyzing his equipment on the approach instead of paying attention
smile at the camera.
Smile at the camera, right? I could see her looking at the bowling balls. That's the nature of her business. That's what she does. She drills bowling balls, and I know she's trying to check out what he's got going on there. And it's not only the ball; it's how it's drilled. It can be the same ball can be set up to do very different things based on center of gravity and where you put the pin. And that's changed a lot over the years.
So that's a miss in the third frame for Rob Piccoli. Just couldn't get that single pin, 10 pin for the spare. So 2 strikes and an open for Rob, and let's see if Shawn Mosier can capitalize on some of that. You saw the numbers there on Shawn. 237 average here at Byllye Lanes. Nice strike for him.
That's taking advantage of an opportunity right there, because he started out 10 pins behind with Rob doubling, and then you see that open there, and it gives you an opportunity, and he took advantage of that.
Well, I mentioned we've got Hall of Famers all over the place here between you and Sue, but there's going to be a new group of Hall of Famers, new class going into the Greater Buffalo USBC Hall of Fame this weekend.
Right, I can't believe that it's been 4 years already since I've gone in, and congratulations to my teammate Holly Parrish, who I bowl with on Wednesday night, along with Dave Williamson, who owns Spare Time Lanes, Mary Grace. She has long been in the bowling business and for performance, and really her dedication to the bowling. And Ray Bellett, one of our favorites. I'm so happy to see Ray going in, and can't forget Brad Angelo.
Sure.
That's a big name going in.
Absolutely.
And Mary Chase, who does a lot of work. She was really important at Thruway Lanes and putting that place on the map, and now she's over at Tonawanda. And we have to mention Jim Wangler Jr., who passed away last year. But wow, what an advocate for bowling he was. Great bowler himself, and then just so supportive to the youth and bringing bowlers along. So it's really good group going in, along with Cynthia Kazanovich and Ruth Wooliver.
And if you're interested in attending the event, which is coming up next weekend, it's at Samuel's Grand Manor in Clarence, and you can get any information you need on tickets at the Greater Buffalo USBC website, or go ahead and call the office. So it'd be great to see everybody there coming out to support the next group of Hall of Famers.
Will you be there, Paul?
I am going to do my best to be there, yes.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
So Shawn will slide over for the 6th frame on lane 19. Perfect, right in the pocket.
So it's funny how earlier we were talking about lane 20 hooking more than lane 19.
By the way, that was 19 miles per hour on that shot from Shawn.
Wow, and he kept that really in deep. So now as the transition has occurred and the bowlers have moved in, that necessarily might not be true, because you're going into a different part of the lane, and the oil, is in a different state there. So the whole 20 versus 19 thing kind of changes as you go along.
Well, Rob is banging the pins around, but on a couple of different occasions they've almost banged themselves too hard to leave 1 or 2 of them standing, as he does there with the 7. And sometimes that's part of the problem for the hard throwers, is they just blow up the pins, and they don't get that natural sliding, banging, bumping.
Right. That's the whole skid roll hook thing. You got to do all the facets of it, because if it's skidding too hard, and if you don't have the rotation, there's more space between those pins than you think. They look like they're tight together, but there is more space between the pins than you think. So you need the pin collision to carry them all.
Sure. It's oversimplistic to say you can't knock you're not going to hit all 10 with the bowling ball, so you need a few of those pins to do the work for you.
Right. It's not like skee ball or those skee ball games where you throw it as hard as you can at the pins. You definitely need the working of the bowling ball.
Not skee ball. Skee ball's the one where you roll the ball.
Yeah, but you
up.
use one of those skee balls in the some of those. Maybe it's more of an arcade one.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I'm a big skee ball guy. That's my growing up on the Jersey Shore where there was arcades all over the boardwalk. I love skee ball.
But Jack and I were in Las Vegas. We bowled against each other in one of those, and it was in a casino, and it was just terrible because it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same game. I wanted to roll it like this, but there was no place to put your fingers, and it was just completely different.
All right, so Rob continues to struggle a little bit here. He's making spares, which is good.
But still got to make up for that open, and he can't put a double together.
That's right, and he hasn't had a double since the first 2 frames. And meanwhile, Shawn is working on a double right now. Yeah, he got a little bit of a late fall. Yeah, that does, doesn't it? Got that 10 pin to kind of slightly fall over.
Well, it definitely creates a little more opportunity because he could have just started taking off with this match, with another strike here or a double, and this, brings it closer together. Good spare.
And that's a almost 19-mile-per-hour spare ball there for Shawn in the 7th frame. Winner of this match will come back next week, face 3 new challengers. On the docket for next week, Dan Gould, Tim Montori, and Chuck Jagosinski. Those are our 3 bowlers for week 3 here at Byllye Lanes in Bradford, PA. And he finally got it.
There's that slap out I told you about. I knew he had it in him.
A little delay there. Yep. Took Shawn a moment to wait and watch it happen, but it did.
The 219 couldn't keep Chuck away, could it?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, no. Don't forget, we're moving on to Lockport. We're pretty much going from one end of Western New York to the other. We're going to Lockport next month at Brad Angelo Lanes, and qualifying is going on there now. And if you're the top qualifier in the round of 24, you win a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. And there's good to see Rocket Rob with a strike.
Big strike there. He pretty much needs to go off the sheet here to challenge Shawn to not strike as well.
I think technically if we had been going to Allie Brandt Lanes, that would have been our farthest south to our farthest north that we bowl here in Western New York. To go from here in Bradford to Lockport.
Nice shot.
2 in a row for Rob. So
Nice
coming down the
shot.
stretch here, he's not going to make this easy for Shawn Mosier.
Nope, he's going to make Shawn work right here for it. Rob still can go, he can strike out for 226. And right now, Shawn's pacing 216, so he's going to have to throw a double here.
Oh, he got it. Boy, I tell you, you talk about the pin action, Shawn has got that thing down pretty good where those pins are falling when he needs them to.
Yeah, and he really needed that one there too.
There's Sue Jeziorski manning the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. Did Sue know she was going to be doing this when she came down with you, or did we throw this at her?
She actually was going to use her to analyze to analyze the little bowling equipment, but we'll have to save that for another day.
All right, well, we'll do. We will promise. We'll get fellow Hall of Famer Sue Jeziorski on to do that. But right now we have a winner, and it is Shawn Mosier in his debut here on Beat the Champ. He has defeated Rob Piccoli, and he will advance on to next week's show. So when Sue and I return, we'll talk to both Rob and Shawn and get you ready for our next week's show. When we return from Bradford, Pennsylvania, this is BTC in the PA. Boy, we continue to have big scores here at Byllye Lanes. This one, a 257-204 win for Shawn Mosier over Rob Piccoli. Shawn bowled really well. You had a little bit of a moment there where you left a couple of pins hanging, didn't you?
Shawn did bowl a great game, and I bowled with him qualifying. He bowled great. And yeah, those couple corner pins early kind of got me, so
yeah,
a little behind.
Well, by the way, and also thank you for entertaining the crowd, because after we had gone off the air, you threw a couple at almost 21 miles per hour just to finish things out. The crowd got a kick out of that.
Yeah, everybody was great here. I enjoyed bowling here.
All right, well, good. That's Paul. You like to hear that, don't you?
Again, I love to hear that. Thanks for coming down, Rob. We appreciate you coming down. Hope everything worked out good for you. Good first match between you and Andy. Like you said, a couple corner pins, and Shawn got out to the lead, and you know, the rest was history. But once again, thanks for coming down. I appreciate it. Hopefully this will ease the pain a little bit. Thanks.
Right, well, Sue, the guy who only had to come around the corner to bowl here is our winner.
Well, little bird told me that you were no slacker at amping the ball up either. What can you throw it at?
I don't know. The fastest maybe is 26, 27.
Oh, wow. Well,
sometimes I get mad. It's okay.
Well, you had to dial it down, but you did a great job. And did you enjoy your experience here on Beat the Champ?
Yeah, it was fun, and congratulations to Rob. He bowled well, and we bowled together in qualifying. It was fun to bowl with him, and I got fortunate and carried some strikes, and I'm moving on.
All right. Well, challenge for you is we haven't had any back-to-back winners yet, so it's a challenge for you next week.
Excellent.
All right.
I thought the speed limits were a little more restrictive here in Pennsylvania, but apparently not when it comes to bowling, huh? Well, good show by these two guys. We're going to see more out of Shawn on next week's show. Sue and I will get you ready for that when we return to wrap up week number 2 in Bradford. More of Beat the Champ right after this. Man, we had great scores here. I think every winner of this week's matches was a well over 250.
And they were pushed the whole way. So I guess we really weren't talking about it as much because everybody just kept pushing the other person to get to that level. So it took that to win. And, I'm just really impressed with what I've seen, but we haven't had a back-to-back winner yet. So
that's right.
That pushing has gone back and forth, and nobody's been able to do it twice.
Means we've got a lot of good bowlers and a lot of good depth. Can we get you to pay attention to the camera for the whole show next week?
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I was
that's
just
all right.
checking out the guys' balls, and I like to look at layouts. I drill bowling balls, so paying a little bit more attention to that.
Okay. Hopefully we're back on the air again for week 3 here in Bradford, and then, till then, we'll see you on Beat the Champ.